Say hello and welcome to Inevitable Change.
We do have a podcast called Inevitable Change. If you want to listen, links in the bio.
Yeah. Okay, so today we are doing a video on a horticulture Q&A.
Are you ready for this? Okay, hello. So we're both horticulture students. My name's Johanna.
And my name is George.
Wow, suspension.
Suspension, eh?
And yeah, we're going to be talking about horticulture, what it is, what we study, where we study, what we like about it, what we don't like about it, and just try and help you out a little bit because I get a lot of questions about my degree and hopefully this can be helpful for you. So yeah, I hope you enjoy and let's get into it. So the first question is what we're studying. That's simple. We study horticulture with plantsmanship in Edinburgh.
Yeah, at the Botanics and SRUC.
Scotland's Royal University College. That's what it is, right?
I think
SRUC. Shrock. We call it Shrock.
Yeah.
So what's horticulture? That's the biggest question of all. What actually is it? So the word itself, hortus, is garden, and like cultura, I guess, is like cultivation. So it's like garden cultivation in the most direct sense, but there's a lot more to it. So that's what we're going to try and get into today.
Okay, so if I was to sum it up in my own words, I would say that horticulture is the study and growing of plants, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you'd say as well? Like, I guess you could do.
Yeah,
it
I guess I would say that
things.
it's like the study of plants in
Yeah.
multiple ways. So it can be like in a more science-based subject, but also in a more like artistic sort of subject, I guess. But they can even merge. So
Yeah.
horticulture is quite like variable, and a lot of people think that it's just gardening or just like
That's
if you study horticulture, if you do anything like horticulture related, you'll be a gardener, which is not true, and which is what I thought when I started this degree. Not that I wanted to be a gardener, I just wanted to live somewhere else, and I didn't really know what horticulture was, and I was like, I'll just study this subject that I don't really know. But now I really like it. So to sum it up, I think horticulture, we'll go more in depth with the kind of like fields of horticulture in a bit, but I guess overall horticulture is the study of plants, and it can be growing plants for like ornamental reasons, like just growing them for beauty or for like floristry, just you cut flowers for example, or growing food to eat, like lettuce or cucumbers or I don't know, just some sort of
Beans.
food, wheat. And it also includes research in some way that is like related to horticulture. So for example, researching like in what conditions a plant can grow, or what the harshest conditions are that a plant can grow in, or how you can like help plants grow in harsh conditions. Like anything with like plant growth or plant cultivation, it's all horticulture. And even designing gardens and like looking after gardens is also horticulture. So there's a lot to this. The next question is there anything we would have rather studied?
What about you?
So I guess a little bit of background information is necessary for this. So we've been studying horticulture for, like, we're in our third year now, so we're almost finishing third year. It's been interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about our specific course that we're doing, but I guess if there's anything else I'd rather have studied, like now, no. Because I'm okay now and I'm actually quite happy with like the place where I'm at the moment. But I think if I had the chance to like switch to a different study earlier, I probably would have. Maybe I've always been kind of like, should I study art? Should I study something more science-based? And horticulture is quite a good mixture of both, in my opinion. And I can kind of like satisfy this like need for doing something like creative, and at the same time doing something like maybe not even very science-based, but just quite like practical or quite graspable. I don't know, quite like it's like knowing plant names and identifying plants, like all that sort of stuff I really enjoy, and that's what I can do in horticulture as well. So that's quite fun. But there's also like been situations where I thought, I really would have preferred to study ecology or conservation or something like that, because I actually tried to change well, we both applied to a different course last year. We were going to switch and kind of restart our degrees, and but we didn't end up doing it because we didn't get in. Well, I didn't get in, he could have, but
it was only because they were taking people through clearing and we left it quite late, and so we ended up continuing on this course, and now I'm happy. No, there's nothing I would have rather studied. What about you? Well, yeah, like you said, we were both thinking of switching. So I was thinking about doing an ecology degree, or maybe something to do with conservation, biology. But I think it wouldn't. I don't think it would have been very good. I would have had to have gone back and done stuff that I don't know if I'd have really enjoyed doing again. Had to have done like another year. I don't think it would be really fun.
Yeah, because we did do quite a lot of ecology stuff in our degree as well, so it would have been kind of like a recap of like 1 year of ecology stuff already, and then
But also, I guess, like, initially I was actually going to study something like, I think it was mechanical engineering masters, an integrated masters, and then I just cancelled that and didn't want to do that anymore. And I decided to do this instead. And I think it's had its ups and downs. I've questioned whether this is the right degree for me for a little while, but I'm sort of settled a bit more now, and I don't think there is a degree that would get me as close to my dream as this one, which is to start some kind of land-based business, maybe growing vegetables or food or practicing permaculture. I don't really know. But this has helped me get close to that, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Yeah. Okay, next question. So you've asked what kind of jobs you can have within horticulture, and there's a pretty good website that I'll link in the description where you can find a list of like all the types of jobs that you can go into if you kind of study horticulture, not necessarily even study it like academically, but also if you do like an apprenticeship or something, or like a certificate, diploma. There's so many ways to get into horticulture.
There's so many jobs.
And there's so many jobs, so many different types of jobs. And you can also like switch between different types of jobs when you're in horticulture. So it's not like you're going to be studying this and you're going to be a gardener. So the first sort of section that I found on their website is arts and design stuff, and things that you'll find in that field, or almost like category, I guess, are like garden designing, floristry, horticulture, like journalism, which is actually quite a big thing because there's quite a few like horticulture journals. Interior landscape design supposedly was one of them as well, so like actually designing inside like offices and spaces,
but working
like
with plants.
Like doing like doing plant design inside. And then the last one said landscape architect, which in some way also can be quite like creative. So do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, so another one that we came across was business production and food. There's sort of some repeats within here, like a florist again, because I guess you are producing and you are a business. So, but then other things like fruit and vegetable growing, doing anything in a garden centre, so you could be an assistant or a manager. You can be a logistics manager. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I guess it means you're like looking after supply of stuff and bits and bobs. You could be, I guess, anything related to repair within a horticultural context, or looking after technology in a horticultural context.
You could work with machinery.
You could work with machinery, or you could grow ornamental plants, like, I don't know, all sorts of things in a nursery, like nursery production, or you could be a propagation scientist and do stuff like micro propagation of plants and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. But yeah, there's quite a wide range of things in here.
So another category is heritage and conservation, and this is quite a big one because this is where like botanic gardens fall under. So there's a lot of work you can do in a botanic garden and a lot of different positions. So you could actually just be a gardener, but you can be a gardener in different types of like gardens. So you can be a tree surgeon, and you can be I don't know, you can look after like more herbaceous things. You could look after like tropical things in glass houses. You could look after alpines, and like there are so many different types of plants.
Exactly, and as well, there's like so many different types of people. So many different types of gardens as well. So like you may be looking after something from the National Trust, and maybe they have more of a conservation, like historically accurate bedding scheme from a specific period, whereas compared to like a botanic garden, you might be looking at more of conservation based scheme, and you working with wild collected plants. So there's different types of being a gardener, and maybe you're just doing it as a private client. Maybe you could even just do it like at somebody's house. I know that they often offer like live-in opportunities for people to go and work on estates and become gardeners there as well. So maybe you produce food as well, all sorts of things.
Yeah. Also, garden history is a big thing. So you could be a historian. You could do like educational things. So you could work, for example, at a National Trust garden, and you could make educational programs. Like you could work in cemeteries. Cemeteries are actually quite a typical like horticulture job, because you're looking after green space, and you're going to have to look after like trees and do lawn mowing, I guess, and weeding. It's all part of it, and you're around a lot of tombstones while you're doing that. You could become a head gardener of like an historic garden or a botanic garden, or
So another one that we came across was plant science and technology. So I guess this is more of a research-based sort of role, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. You can do sort of things like breeding plants, becoming like a geneticist, propagating plants at a high level. You could be a soil scientist. You could be some kind of horticultural scientist, maybe an agronomist, which is a crop. Is that a crop a crop physiologist or a taxonomist as well. Some people do other things like landscape science, which I must admit I've never heard of. So I would have to figure that one out. You can just become like a plant pathologist, or any kind of like thing to do with
pest and
disease. Yeah. You can also just be a horticultural scientist, or a consultant, or a field advisor, or anything kind of maybe where you're talking to people about different things and relaying information.
Giving advice.
Yeah. So another category is sports, leisure and green space. So I guess this is around anything to do with parks and sport use of grass. I guess this is quite grass based. So but I guess you could also look at trees. I mean, there's trees in parks as well, so you'd have tree surgeons there.
Parks, unfortunately, are mostly just grass.
Yeah, I think they could be so much better.
A green space is a grass space.
But yeah, so you'd have greenkeepers, groundsmen, groundspeople, and sports turf managers who would keep the grass in like tip-top shape, so you can play your cricket or football or whatever.
Usually this involves a lot of chemicals.
So maybe like golf management as well. Usually a lot of chemicals, a lot of time, a lot of machinery, a lot of fossil fuels. Hey, you can tell I'm not really a fan of this, can't you? Another one could be landscape contractor. So people who actually like build gardens, whether this is on like a large scale or a small scale, and you're in your own back garden. It really depends on who you are and what your aim is as a landscape contractor.
So the last one, I guess, is like health and wellbeing horticulture. So that kind of, I mean, it also is very much connected to all the other things like parks and green space management. But in particular, there is like horticultural therapy as well. So that can involve like designing gardens to be like therapeutic. So through having a garden that is very sensory, or very like, you can touch things and there's lots of sound, and the experience of being in a garden is supposed to be like therapeutic. Or it can be actually gardening and having a group of people that you're gardening with for like therapeutic reasons. So cool. I think that's the main categories that we could find on this website. If you want to if you want to have a look at these categories and just kind of like dive a bit deeper into the jobs, because under each of these jobs that we just kind of mentioned or briefly touched on, you can see a specific description, and you can kind of look at how you can get to that job, whether you need to be studying something like academic, or whether you can just do like a more simple way of like doing maybe a short apprenticeship or doing a short placement somewhere. It's like with horticulture, it's quite nice. You can go into the field without like needing like multiple years of like experience, depending on what job role you want, obviously. But a lot of these jobs you can kind of like get into from like a career change, for example. And yeah, it's not like
it's not inaccessible.
Exactly.
Like some other places are. Like you can very easily retrain to become a horticulturalist if you want to, and there are quite easy courses that don't have any requisites that you can get into, and then that will allow you to ask for placements and go and do different things elsewhere. And I mean, getting into horticulture is as simple as like growing things in your back garden and reading some books, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even need to have any type of like diploma or academic thing, graduation, whatever, I don't even know. but like honestly, if you're interested in horticulture, one of the most important things is usually experience. So if you have experience in whatever form with plants or within kind of the job role that you're a bit interested in, even if it's like volunteering in a garden, you know, occasionally, like that is experience, and that's valuable. So yeah, you're on the right track if you want to go into horticulture. Anyway, yeah, look into the description. If there's a job role you really liked, look that up and see how you can get to that job, if you're looking to,
get into horticulture.
Figure out that career life. So the next question is, what would be your ultimate dream job after our studies?
Okay, so my dream job would be to do something with permaculture, or to own a market garden or farm or land-based business of some kind. But I'd also be happy doing something to do with community gardens, and maybe working in community gardens, not very often, or doing design. I would happily do design, but ideally I'd like to be a farmer
boy.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so I don't know what my dream job would be. I think I'm just interested in somehow growing food and sharing kind of knowledge.
Oh yeah, that's important as well.
Like sharing, or like doing something like educational, making gardening more accessible, or more like community gardens, kind of trying to open more community gardens or support people with gardening, because it is quite difficult and there's a lot of like mixed information and you're not really sure like where to look when you're first starting, but at the same time it's such an exciting experience, and I just really want to help like share that with people. I'm quite interested in like illustration and doing I guess maybe like photography, videos, something with these things.
Cool.
I'd enjoy. I don't know, I don't have like a dream job, I just know things that I enjoy, and like growing is one of those. And
I thought about like what you were saying about like when you start there's loads of information, but like loads of it is unnecessary and really quite harmful. So it'd be nice to like teach people how to grow from the start quite easily, rather than just relying on like, traditional myths.
More regeneratively as well. Trying to like push sort of like permaculture and just generally like more like ecological gardening, almost you could call it, I guess, forward a bit more, because there's a lot of even like in courses that you might look at like studying if you want to study horticulture. For example, our course didn't really teach us anything about sustainable horticulture or any sort of I guess more eco-friendly growing ways of growing, or horticulture, and that's quite disappointing, I find. But just be critical, everything you hear, you know, critical. Just like think about this. If it doesn't make sense, then don't believe it, do your own research.
Don't take the RHS's word for it.
Don't actually.
I think they have a good database, but I think that sometimes they rely on very traditional pest management problems that can be quite harmful. Very traditional. Not always the best.
Mhm.
Sometimes good, but not always the best.
Anyway, so what are our plans? The next question is, what are your plans after your degree? Do we have any postgraduate degree plans, George? Do you? Do I? I don't know.
Do we? I would quite like to... I don't know, I could see myself going like one or two ways. I'd quite like the idea of studying sustainable food and natural resources as a master's at the Centre of Alternative Technology in Wales. That would be quite interesting to study, but I might also just consider working for a bit or volunteering on some permaculture farms, or like or organic farms or biodynamic farms or any kind of farm. Or maybe it'd be quite fun to, I mean, another thing we're thinking of doing would be maybe staying around Edinburgh, because there's a number of projects that we're doing around here at the moment that I would quite like to see through and see how they develop, and that'll take a few years, so maybe stick around for those.
Yeah. So for me, I guess I might study a master's degree, but a lot of them are very expensive in the UK. And
those aren't too bad.
Yeah, the one
They're
at
cheaper than normal.
the one at Wales, the one the Centre of Alternative Technology is quite doable, I guess.
Yeah, they are still expensive.
For a master's, yeah. So I'm also not sure, but if I would do one, then probably there. And yeah, I don't know. Like we still have a year to study, so we're kind of taking it easy-ish. Like the nearest stressful point is the dissertation. So
God, don't even mention it.
yeah. And the next question is how to get involved with horticulture outside of academic studies.
Yeah.
We
kind of already touched on that quite a lot, but there's like so many ways you can get involved. I initially did an RHS, I think it was like a silver, like level 2 or something like that.
What does that even mean?
Theory 1, which is like the middle one. So you can do like this. There's 3 levels of this RHS theory of gardening or practical application of gardening, and I think you can do a joint one. There's like a diploma, and then there's like a certificate or something like that.
Okay.
And you can do both of them. But the level 3 one is quite like highly regarded amongst gardeners, and most people expect you to have like a level 2 or like a BTEC in horticulture. Like a vocational qualification of some kind, not necessarily BTEC, but whatever. You can also become an apprentice, which usually involves you getting a BTEC as well, and experience at the same time, and pay, which is good. Okay, so another question is there any suggestions for anybody going into the horticultural field?
I guess have sort of a vague idea of what you enjoy, because if you're doing like an academic horticulture study, you will probably find out kind of along the way what you enjoy most. At least that's definitely what happened for me, and kind of what happened to a lot of people I know as well. Yeah, because you just get exposed to different things, and like your lessons will teach you things that you might not even have known about before you like started the degree. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing to have like a plan and to know, oh, I really want to like become a, I don't know, gardener in a botanic garden, or I really want to be a propagation scientist. Like if you know that, that's really good, and then you can kind of tailor your studies towards that goal. But if you don't know that, that's fine too. And if you just know that you enjoy plants, like that's okay. Like you will in some way work with plants, and you will find out in what way you prefer working with plants during your studies or during your like experience that you gain in the field. So yeah, that's my advice. Now the last question is about our course in particular, and it asks about like pros and cons of our course. Do you want to go for the pros, or like should we start with the cons and then end on the pros?
I don't know, I feel like either way it doesn't really matter. I'll do the pros. So you learn a lot very quickly from this course, and yeah, just like lots and lots and lots and lots. It's almost too much, and it's under intense stress, which can be difficult, which I guess is a con. You can also learn a lot of plant names, so because you do weekly idents the first 2 years, so you do weekly idents for the first 2 years.
And there's 20
and
plants
then there's
each
like
time, I think.
Yeah, well there's 15 the first year and I think 20 the second year, and then you have to like it sort of increases in difficulty as you go along, and then you have to learn the family and the origin and all that sort of stuff. So
you gain a lot of plant knowledge.
You learn a lot of plant knowledge. It's all in botanical nomenclature, and it is Very good to learn how to write them down quickly and correctly as well, because that's not always the case. Another thing as well is that you get to study at the botanics, which is really beautiful, and you get lots of perks of being there. So you get to access all of the glass houses. You can do research there if you wanted to for your dissertation. The teachers are quite supportive of that. They are willing to let you use the herbarium and all sorts of other things. The library is great as well. I can't forget the library. The library is absolutely brilliant. There's loads of books. Whatever book you want on plants, it's probably in there, and you can take it out as well, which other people can't do. As I said before, great teachers. People are usually pretty cool there as well, and friends. You make lots of friends. It's quite a close-knit course because there's only like
it's tiny, yeah. We're like a family.
Eight of us, maybe
at this
even
point,
more.
yeah.
At this point, there's 8 of us in the class, and that's for the whole year. But we do cross over with other horticulture and garden design streams at SRUC, but at the botanics, there's only 8 of us.
In our specific study, horticulture with plantsmanship, it's only like 8 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's nice. I mean, I don't really think that many courses have that, like, small classes, so that's a real bonus. What else is there? A wide range of subjects are covered. This can be a good thing and a bad thing. It's really quite good in the pros list because you get a good overview of horticulture.
So annoying.
Yeah, but the other thing as well is you can stop at any time and receive a qualification. If you stop after the first year, you get a HNC. If you stop after the second year, you get a HND. Third year, a BSc, and the fourth year, you get an honours degree, which is good if you want to just do practical, like horticulture, like become a gardener. You can leave after the HND, and that is more than enough. You are more than qualified to go and work somewhere, get an apprenticeship, work in a garden. You know, you're on your way for a horticultural career. Another pro is that there's nowhere else in the world that you can really study a degree at Botanic Garden, so that's a pro. And the fact that this course is specifically directed towards any kind of botanical garden based job, so you wouldn't really be much better off here than anywhere else. Like you'd be better off here than anywhere else because maybe Q would also offer that as well, but there's nowhere else that would really offer that. And it also allows you to take a practical career progression. Like I said before, you can leave with the HND, or you can take an academic research based one at the end if you want to, when you get your BSc, and you can go off and do a research role. So that's really good. I think that's basically it.
Lots of positives there. I'm unfortunately going to end it on some negative things about the course. So the first 2 years of this course were incredibly intense, and unless you're able to, like, financially as well, do the course part-time, because it means you still have to pay council tax if you do it part-time, you basically have to dedicate your life to this course. So it's very intense. You have to study every single day. In the first year especially, you're in uni every single day, mostly from 9 to 5, and you don't get a lot of extra study time, and all the, like, assignments are often, like, placed in, like, a very short period of time where everything's due, so you have to there is no fun next to your degree. Like, your degree is the fun that you're going to get, basically. It's fun in places, but it's also very stressful. It can be very random and, like, poorly organised. Sometimes teachers don't really know what's going on, you don't really know what's going on. Like, it's like, where are we supposed to go today? Like, what's the actual plan? Like, wait, there's an exam today? Who told me about that? I don't know. So, I don't know, it can be quite, like, disorganised and a bit confusing. And I think there's not necessarily enough, like, guidance or help in places unless you're very, like, forceful and you ask for it quite, like, directly and often. But even then, sometimes it's just like, nobody's replied to my email for ages. This is a very small course. I don't know. Seems a bit confusing, but it's just very unfortunate. I think everybody's just really quite stressed. Then feedback. Sometimes you can get, like, you get back your grading, like, really late. There has been times where we had an exam, and in the exam something from a previous assignment was relevant, but we'd never got the grading back for that, like, before the exam. So stuff like that happens, and it's not just, like, a one-time thing. So I'm going to be honest, I wasn't very happy with the degree in the first 2 years, and I was actually quite, like, upset and wanted to change very often. What I find a real, like, negative thing about this degree is that there's not a lot of choice. and there's also basically no teaching on any sustainable horticulture practices or any like alternative like horticulture practices from like the very I guess like almost traditional horticulture. So yeah, for example, like digging or I don't know, like alternative pest management. We never really talked about like no dig systems or if that could be beneficial or yeah, it's just like unfortunate I find, because as like the Botanic Garden of like Edinburgh, I wish they'd like push that a bit more in the education program. And yeah, also the not having much choice thing, so you really don't have much choice with what you study. You don't get to choose any subjects basically until the third year, and even then you only get to choose 2 subjects out of like just a few. And
just one.
Well, actually, yeah, you only get to choose one. Sorry, you only get to choose one. I thought originally it was 2, but you get to choose one, and often they're also like not really designed for like other students except for the students that they're meant to, like, I don't know. So basically I'm talking about a garden design module that we're taking, which is basically just for garden design students, and even though we were allowed to take it, like it doesn't really make sense for us because we've never been taught any of the things that are expected of us in this module. So there's a lot of like trying to teach ourselves, and luckily we have friends in the garden design course, so we can kind of like learn from them, but still it's like there's so much expected of you that you can't really know because you've never been a garden design student. So stuff like that, like the disorganization bit, it just happens all the time. It's just like, what is going on? So yeah, then the biggest thing, stress. I know every degree is stressful, but oh my god, horticulture, why is it so stressful? I'm trying to learn about plants, you know, I'm trying to have a good time with the green things, and it's just not happening. And it's just like, yeah, that's the negative thing about this course. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's the end.
Okay, so we just wanted to say thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Because this was the end. This is the end of the video.
This is the end.
Hopefully this covered like some of your questions.
Hopefully it was helpful.
If you have more questions, don't hesitate to ask them below, or ask them in an email, or in a message me on Instagram, or even George. Message George on Instagram. Please message him. I can't message everybody back. Yeah. Thank you for watching, and take care.
Yeah.
Hope to see you in the horticulture field.